Things look a little bit different in Philadelphia today. Here's a look at the trade that sent James Harden to the Los Angeles Clippers, as first reported by Adrian Wojnarowski. Now, the reigning MVP, Joel Embiid, he gained a slew of new teammates in this trade. You can see the details after it became official this morning on your screen here. But Woj is back with us, and it was so important, Woj, for the Sixers to get back assets in this trade, to continue to build around Joel Embiid here. How aggressive do you expect them to be between now and the trade deadline?
Listen, this is what Daryl Morey loves the best, is going out in the market, trying to cobble together the assets he has to go get a star player. Nobody in the league has made as many trades as he has since he's been in the league. And, you know, he is a very big believer in putting stars around stars. That's what he did in Houston. That's what he's tried to do in Philly. And so they've got enough now to go out. I think especially once we get closer to the trade deadline and players start to become available. This is a tough time of year to go out and try to pry a really good player away from a team. You would have to grossly overpay to do it in almost all those cases. But, you know, as we get closer to that February trade deadline, and if that player's not out there, then those picks and those assets, they transfer over to draft time, free agency. And I think what they have to have in mind, though, is they go out looking, and if it's going to be another really good perimeter player, not just to fit around Joel Embiid, but to fit around Tyrese Maxey. How does it impact Maxey? Because he has all the makings right now of maybe not just an all-star guard in the league, maybe he's an all-NBA guard at some point.
My thing is this: you need to be aggressive. It's less about, like, okay, who can they get? It's about the window of Joel Embiid being a top 3, a top 5 player. And look, these windows don't last as long as people think. He has been a great player for a long time. He's got an injury history. So my thing is, if I had to pick, I would say between 3 and 5 years, Joel Embiid will still be a top 5 player in the league. That's your window. That's your window. So you can have picks in 2029. You can have trade swaps in 2030. You have a window right now to win a championship. You have not been to the conference finals since 2000. Since before I was in the league was the last time you were in the conference finals. Joel Embiid don't grow on trees, and neither do these opportunities. So in my opinion, they need to be ultra aggressive this break and then in the summer.
Yeah, but they could be patient at the same time.
Yeah, it was at the break and in
you know
the
what
summer.
I mean? Because
Very similar to the Lakers.
they still with this roster that they have right now on paper, still the third. Listen, just listen, man.
I'm not saying a word.
They're the third best team in the Eastern Conference. Now,
Oh, what?
They're the third best
You
team.
out your damn mind.
Who? I mean, name me. Who? I mean,
I can pick 5 teams right now that I would take over.
Who?
I would take over that.
Name
Okay,
them.
maybe not 5, 4. I would say I would take Boston.
Yep.
I would take the Knicks.
Yep. No, I wouldn't
that's
take
fine.
the
That's
Knicks.
fine.
I
I would
wouldn't
take
take the
Boston.
Knicks.
I would take the Knicks. I would take Cleveland.
The Cavs that we've been watching lately?
Yeah, I would take Cleveland. I would take Cleveland, and I would take Boston. Did I say Milwaukee? Milwaukee. Those are the 4 teams that I would take over.
Okay, you're wrong. Okay, anyway, this team is supposed to be undefeated. They have a guy in Joel Embiid that is dominating the league, Tyrese Maxey. And when I say be patient, I'm not saying Daryl Morey should jump the gun right now. I'm saying see what's out there. By the trade deadline, make a push at something. But the pieces that they got back from the Clippers, I think people underestimating what those guys could bring to the table.
I do want to bring in someone who has been in the middle of making these sorts of decisions in our front office insider, Bobby Marks, please, gentlemen. Because Daryl Morey, you kind of talked about it, Woj. He isn't necessarily known as a GM that builds cap space teams. He trades for big stars. How can we expect him to operate now?
Well, I'm going to expect aggressive, but kind of patient right now, observing. And Malik, I'm going to throw out a number to you.
Please.
81. That is the amount of trades that Daryl Morey has made
81.
since 2007. So if the expectation is that he's going to sit on his hands for the next 6 months and rely on $65 million in cap space next offseason, I think we're all going to be wrong here. So I think certainly for the interim time, there's going to be an observation as for where this roster is. But when we get closer to the trade deadline, I would expect this Philadelphia GM to be extra aggressive.
Well, let's get specific, but also hypothetical. What moves could help the Sixers, and what could those potential deals look like, Bobby?
Well, I've got January 1st circled on my calendar, and that's the first date that the contracts that they received in this trade, Robert Covington, Nick Batum, Marcus Morris, those contracts can now be aggregated here. And certainly when you're looking at who is going to be struggling at that time is Toronto, which is 1-3 right now. 3 potential free agents in OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, Gary Trent. Where is Chicago in January with a player like DeMar DeRozan? But here's the question, Malika. All 4 of those players could become free agents. Are you aggressive at the trade deadline with the draft picks you have? Or do you rely and take that conservative mode that Daryl Morey's not known for and wait till they become free agents?
Interesting. Do you like one of those better or worse, Perk?
I'm not going that's Bobby thing, and you know what I'm saying? Either one of them will make the Sixers better. But, what about a Jimmy Butler? Miami's struggling. We don't know what Miami's going to be. They missed out on some huge they missed out on Bradley Beal, they missed out on Damian Lillard. They also missed out on Drew Holiday. Do we think Miami is going to make one of those runs again this postseason? Absolutely not. So my thing is, at what point do Miami say, you know what? How many times are we going to continue to run with Jimmy Butler like that?
Yeah, but if Miami was to move Jimmy Butler for essentially draft assets, that's saying we're going in a whole different direction.
Correct.
Pat Riley has not shown any inclination to step back and rebuild like that. They've always tried to keep...
What's that word you just used, Woj?
Inclination?
He haven't showed it to win, because if that's the case, he would have picked one of those 3 players that wanted to go to Miami this offseason. So he didn't improve the roster.
Well,
Right.
the Sixers, they have some decisions to make coming up here. Woj, thank you so
All right,
very
guys.
much. Bobby, thank you as well. Rich, before we head to break, your favorite break of the show, one thing that Daryl Morey is going to have to consider is, do you remember in 2018 when he commissioned this portrait of James Harden that now hangs in his house in Philadelphia?
Look, they had a very unique relationship, and we're just going to leave it at that. Look, LeBron's my guy. I don't got no pictures of him in my house.
Ramona Shelburne has an excellent story right now on ESPN.com all about their relationship, and it begins with this stunning and telling portrait here. NBA Today will be back.
Is it up for sale?
Hey, what's up, guys? Jag from Jaggy Sports here. Let's talk about the 76ers and what their plans are, right? So, the thing here is Daryl Morey has to make a trade. And if he doesn't, then Joel Embiid is going to ask for a trade this offseason, 2024. That's almost a guaranteed, because Joel Embiid is in his prime. The reigning, defending MVP, Joel Embiid, is in his prime, and he has to actually at least make the conference finals. At least. So, what are you going to do? You have all these assets, and you can't sit on them. You cannot sit on these assets. You have to take control. You have to make a move. And the right man for the job is Daryl freaking Morey. He makes more trades than, anyone that I know. Or I don't know anyone, but I meant GMs wise, right? So, bottom line is, you got to do something here, right? And quite frankly, I mentioned it, Zach LaVine. I mentioned DeMar DeRozan. You got OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam here and there. But if you want a big name, somebody that will push the needle to the Eastern Conference Finals, not only the Eastern Conference Finals, but will get to the finals and win the freaking title, is Jimmy Butler, right? And I know what they said. Woj was saying, well, that won't do because, there's no way in hell Pat Riley's going to take a step back and rebuild the team. I get that part. But Pat Riley shot for Bradley Beal, got denied. Shot for Damian Lillard, got denied. So at the end of the day, it's kind of like Jimmy Butler's in his prime too, and he wants to win the championship. So Daryl freaking Morey needs to do something here. And I would love to see Jimmy Butler in Philadelphia again. I would love to see that. So can it happen? I don't know. But Joel Embiid and Jimmy Butler are friends, and they got to do something, because Miami Heat, the way they're constructed right now, does not fit well, because they lost Gabe Vincent They lost Max Strus, and Kyle Lowry is in the downward phase of his career. He's not the once producer that he was once, and yeah, you got to do something here. But Miami is not going to take this lightly. If they're going to trade Jimmy Butler, which, you know, that's a long shot, they're going to want everything. And I mean everything. Because Jimmy Butler is for real, right? If he's paired up with Joel Embiid, that's going to be something. I don't think Philadelphia's going to let Tyrese Maxey go, but I don't know what's going to happen, but it's Philly's on the clock here. They got to think of something. They got to do something. And quite frankly, all signs point to Chicago Bulls, Toronto Raptors, or the Miami Heat. Interesting, it's all Eastern Conference teams because I don't see a Western Conference team disgruntled, right? Because Toronto Raptors had their whole thing with OG Anunoby. I don't think he's going to re-sign. He wants his money. Obviously, he's in the last year of his contract, I believe. DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine. DeMar's in his final year. Zach LaVine has 4 more years left, but that whole team had a yelling match kind of thing, and Jimmy Butler got screwed with the whole Dame thing by Dame Lillard going to Milwaukee. So at the end of the day, you got to think to yourself, how much is Daryl Morey willing to give up? Is he willing to give up the farm by letting go of all the assets that he accumulated with James Harden and then some for Jimmy Butler? It's a tough call, but at the end of the day, I would give the farm for Jimmy Butler. I would not give up Joel Embiid. Obviously, I would not give up Tyrese Maxey, but everything else, you know what I mean? And they got some good pieces. Melton, he's underrated. He's phenomenal, right? I would give the farm for Jimmy Butler. You know what I mean? Because Jimmy Butler can take you places, can take you to the finals. Obviously, you saw. And a lot of people are saying it's Eric Spoelstra had something to do with it as well, but you can't deny the fact that Jimmy Butler is just unreal, right? And if I'm Jimmy Butler, you know, I can't see Jimmy Butler actually requesting a trade, but think about it this way. Jimmy and Joel are both in their prime. And right now, as it constructed, the Eastern Conference looks like it's going to be Milwaukee versus the Boston Celtics. That's how it's looking like right now. And quite frankly, it could be both those guys looking that way towards those teams. And as a player, you don't want to see them waste their years. You don't want to see them waste their years. So you actually want something to happen. As a fan, obviously, right? You want to see something transpire. So is it going to be Jimmy Butler to the Philadelphia 76ers? Is it going to be Donovan Mitchell to the 76ers? DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam. Could be another couple players here out in the West too. I have no idea, but again, as always, let me know what your thoughts are. Who should the Philadelphia 76ers go after? Leave a comment in the comment section. As always, this is Jag from Jaggy Sports.